Ambassador Lee Minho stood in the white corridor outside the Galactic Council chamber. His black diplomatic suit was perfect, not a wrinkle anywhere. He had worn this same suit to every meeting for 3 years. 3 long years of sitting in that cold room, listening to aliens tell humans what they could and could not do. The doors opened with a soft hiss. Lee Minho walked into the massive chamber. The ceiling stretched so high he could barely see it. Hundreds of alien delegates sat in curved rows, looking down at the small platform in the center. Their eyes followed him as he walked to his usual spot. He had done this walk many times before, but today felt different. Today was the last time. Dr. Kim So-yi sat in the observer section, her tablet ready to record everything. She watched Lee Minho's face carefully. After working with him for 2 years, she could read his moods. Today he looked calm, but she noticed something else. He looked finished, like a man who had made a final decision. The Prime Speaker Veltharion rose from his crystal throne. His body was made of living rock that sparkled in the chamber lights. When he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass. "The Council will hear the human petition regarding trade route access," Veltharion announced. His tone made it clear he thought this was a waste of time. Lee Minho stepped forward. "Thank you, Prime Speaker. Humanity requests the removal of quarantine restrictions around our colony worlds. These limits prevent our ships from using standard trade routes. No other species faces such restrictions." A sound like laughter filled the chamber. It came from dozens of different alien throats, creating a strange chorus. Some delegates made clicking sounds. Others hissed. A few glowed brighter, which Dr. Kim So-yi had learned meant amusement. Morvac, the military overseer, stood up. His reptilian body was covered in dark scales that reflected the chamber lights. "The restrictions exist for good reason," he said, his voice a low growl. "Primitive species require guidance. Your people have been in space for less than 100 years. We have been traveling between stars for thousands of years." "We understand the Council's position," Lee Minho replied. His voice stayed level and polite. "However, human technology has advanced significantly. Our ships are faster than most Council vessels. Our weapons are more accurate. Our shields are stronger. We no longer require protection." This caused more alien laughter. Nixandra, who looked like a floating ball of blue energy, spoke next. "Speed and weapons do not make a civilization mature. Humans still fight wars among themselves. You destroy your own planets with pollution. You create artificial intelligence without proper safeguards. These are the actions of children playing with dangerous toys." Dr. Kim So-yi made notes on her tablet. She had heard these same arguments hundreds of times. The aliens always focused on human conflicts from 50 years ago. They ignored all the progress humanity had made since then. "The Council has reviewed human development," Veltharion continued. "While your species shows promise, you are not ready for full galactic citizenship. The quarantine zones will remain in place for another 50 years minimum. During this time, human expansion is limited to systems already under your control, Lee." Minho nodded slowly. "I see. And what about trade agreements?" "Human merchants may continue to operate under Council supervision," Morvac answered. "All human cargo must be inspected at Council stations. All human trade routes must be approved in advance. These rules help protect other species from human unpredictability. Unpredictability." Lee Minho repeated the word. "Is that what you call it when humans solve problems differently than expected?" "It is what we call it when humans ignore established protocols." Veltharion's voice grew sharper. "Last month, human engineers fixed a broken space station by using methods our scientists said were impossible. The month before, human doctors cured a plague that had killed millions across 3 systems. You do not follow proper procedures. You create new solutions instead of using proven methods. This causes chaos." Dr. Kim So-yi almost smiled. "The aliens were complaining because humans were too good at solving problems. They wanted humanity to fail, then ask for help. When humans succeeded on their own, it made the aliens uncomfortable. Perhaps the Council prefers that humans remain dependent on alien guidance," Lee Minho suggested. The chamber erupted in angry sounds. Delegates stood up, their various ways of showing displeasure filling the air. Clicks, hisses, flashing lights, and grinding stone voices all mixed together. "How dare you suggest such a thing?" Morvac's scales darkened with rage. "The Council," exists to maintain order and peace. We protect younger species from making dangerous mistakes. Of course, Lee Min-ho said. The Council's wisdom is well known throughout the galaxy. Veltharion studied the human ambassador. Something in Lee Min-ho's tone bothered him, though he could not identify what. The human petition is denied. These restrictions will remain in place until the Council determines that humanity has achieved proper maturity. I understand, Lee Min-ho replied. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with delegates from dozens of different species. Before I respond to the Council's decision, may I ask one question? You may ask, Veltharion allowed. In the 3 years since humanity joined this Council, how many times have our requests been approved? The question hung in the air. Dr. Kim Soyi knew the answer. 0. Every single human request had been denied. Every human proposal had been rejected. Every human suggestion had been dismissed. The Council considers each request carefully, Veltharion said carefully. But none have been approved, Lee Min-ho pressed. Not one. Not even simple requests like opening a new trade post or establishing a communications relay. Everything humans propose is deemed too dangerous, too primitive, or too unpredictable. Young species must earn trust slowly, Nixandra said. Her blue glow dimmed slightly. I see. Lee Min-ho reached into his jacket and pulled out a small device. Dr. Kim Soyi recognized it as a recording unit. Then let me be clear about humanity's position. He pressed a button on the device. A soft beep indicated it was now recording. Ambassador Lee Min-ho of Earth, speaking to the Galactic Council on the date of Standard Calendar 2387.156. After 3 years of diplomatic efforts, humanity has concluded that productive negotiation with this council is impossible. Every human initiative has been blocked. Every human proposal has been rejected. Every human request has been denied. The chamber grew quiet. Even the background hum of the air recycling system seemed louder. Therefore, effective immediately, humanity withdraws from all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We withdraw from all trade agreements supervised by Council authority. We withdraw from all joint projects and cooperative ventures. We withdraw from all Council-mediated dispute resolution processes. Lee Min-ho's voice remained calm and professional, but his words hit the chamber like physical blows. Furthermore, humanity formally notifies the Council that we no longer recognize Council authority over human space, human ships, or human citizens. Any Council vessels entering human territory will be treated as foreign visitors and asked to leave. Morvac stood up so fast his chair fell over. You cannot simply leave. No species has ever withdrawn from the Council. Perhaps that is because no species has ever been treated the way humans have been treated, Lee Min-ho replied. We came to this council seeking partnership. We found only condescension. We offered cooperation. We received only restrictions. We asked for respect. We were given only lectures about our supposed immaturity. Veltharion's crystal body began to glow brighter. Without council protection, human colonies will be destroyed by raiders within months. Your species will not survive alone in hostile space. Lee Min-ho smiled for the first time since entering the chamber. It was not a happy smile. The council's concern for human welfare is touching, considering how little concern you have shown for 3 years. He put the recording device back in his jacket. Humanity thanks the Galactic Council for teaching us a valuable lesson. You have shown us that we stand alone in this galaxy. We will remember this lesson. Dr. Kim Soyi felt a chill run down her spine. There was something in Lee Min-ho's voice that suggested humanity had been preparing for this moment longer than anyone realized. You are making a terrible mistake, Nixandra warned. Young species cannot survive without guidance. Pride comes before destruction. Perhaps, Lee Min-ho agreed. But slavery comes before both. The word slavery caused another eruption in the chamber. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. The sound was deafening. Lee Min-ho waited for quiet. When it came, he spoke his final words to the Galactic Council. Dr. Kim Soyi will file the formal withdrawal documents within 24 hours. After that time, humanity will have no further communication with this body. We thank you for your time and wish you well in your future endeavors. He turned and walked toward the exit. Dr. Kim Soy gathered her things and followed. As they reached the doors, Veltharion called out, "Ambassador, when your colonies are burning and your people are dying, remember that you chose this path." Lee Minho stopped at the doorway. He looked back at the crystal being who had just threatened the destruction of human worlds. "We will remember everything," he said quietly. The doors closed behind them with a soft hiss. In the corridor, Dr. Kim Soyi walked beside Lee Minho toward the shuttle bay. That was Admiral Park Ji-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the main viewport. His ship was hidden behind the moon of New Seoul, one of humanity's largest colony worlds. Around him, officers worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. "Sir, we have confirmation from all sectors," reported his communications officer. "Every evacuation team is in position." Park Ji-ho nodded. He had been planning this operation for 2 years, ever since it became clear that diplomatic efforts would fail. The plan was called Silent Sky, and it was the most complex military operation in human history. "Begin Phase 1, he ordered. Across 17 star systems, human ships began to move. But these were not warships. They looked like ordinary cargo vessels, passenger transports, and mining ships. The aliens watching human space saw nothing unusual. Human ships moved between planets every day. Captain Choi Do-yun commanded one of these seemingly ordinary ships. His vessel appeared to be a simple cargo hauler carrying farming equipment to the agricultural world of New Busan. In reality, his ship was packed with advanced evacuation technology that the aliens had never seen. Beginning approach to New Busan, Choi Do-hyun announced to his crew, "Deployment teams, prepare for immediate action." On New Busan, 5 million human colonists went about their daily lives. They worked in the vast wheat fields, managed the automated farming machines, and processed food for shipment to other worlds. To any observer, it was a normal day on a peaceful farming planet. But at exactly noon local time, everything changed. Evacuation sirens began to sound across the planet. Every human on New Busan had been briefed on this moment months ago. They knew exactly what to do. Families gathered their prepared emergency packs. Workers shut down their machines in a specific sequence. Children were collected from schools by organized teams. Within 1 hour, 5 million people had assembled at designated gathering points. They moved with the precision of a military unit, because in many ways, they were. Every human colonist had received basic evacuation training. They knew their roles. Choi Do-yun's ship landed at the main spaceport. The cargo bay doors opened, revealing technology that looked like science fiction even to other humans. Gleaming transport pods emerged, each capable of holding 1,000 people in suspended animation. The pods moved on their own, guided by artificial intelligence systems. "This is incredible," whispered one of the colonists as she watched the pods deploy. "How long have we been preparing for this?" "Longer than you know," replied the evacuation coordinator, a woman named Han Nari. She was officially listed as a terraforming engineer, but her real job was much more complex. She had spent 3 years designing evacuation systems for 17 worlds. The pods moved through the crowds with impossible efficiency. People stepped inside, were quickly processed by medical scanners and placed in safe sleep chambers. Each pod could be loaded in under 10 minutes. The entire population of New Busan was aboard the evacuation ships within 6 hours. But the most amazing part was yet to come. As the last humans left the planet, automated systems activated across New Busan. Robot farmers emerged from hidden storage areas. Artificial intelligence networks took control of every machine and facility. The farms continued operating exactly as before, but now they were run entirely by computers and robots. To anyone watching from space, New Busan looked exactly the same. Ships still landed to collect food shipments. The farms still produced their crops. The factories still processed grain. But there were no humans anywhere on the planet. This same scene played out on 16 other worlds. On New Incheon, 3 million miners vanished, while their mining operations continued running automatically. On New Daegu, 2 million factory workers disappeared while their production lines maintained full output. On New Ulsan, 4 million shipbuilders evacuated while their orbital construction yards kept building vessels. In every case, the result was the same. The worlds looked completely normal from space, but every human had vanished without a trace. Dr. Kim Soyi supervised the evacuation of the research station on New Andong. As the chief xenobiologist studying alien cultures, she understood better than most how the aliens would react to what they were seeing. They will be confused at first, she explained to her assistant as they watched the last research teams board their transport pods. Aliens think in very predictable patterns. They expect humans to behave like other species they have encountered. What do other species do when they leave the council? Her assistant asked. No species has ever left the council, Dr. Kim Soyi replied. That is why this will work. The aliens have no experience with voluntary withdrawal. They expect us to hide in asteroid fields or flee to uninhabited systems. They think we will beg for help within a few months. The research station's computers activated their autonomous modes. Years of preparation had gone into programming these systems. They would continue Dr. Kim Soyi's research projects, maintain the laboratories, and even publish scientific papers. To the galactic scientific community, it would appear that human researchers were still working normally. Meanwhile, the real humans were traveling through space using technology the aliens did not know existed. The evacuation ships did not use normal jump drives. Instead, they activated quantum tunneling systems that moved through folded space. These tunnels were invisible to alien sensors. The ships seemed to simply vanish from normal space-time. Nixandra was the first alien to notice something was wrong. As the trade representative for the Energy Federation, she monitored cargo shipments across dozens of systems. 3 days after the human withdrawal from the Council, she realized that human cargo ships had stopped arriving at their scheduled destinations. This is strange, she told her assistant, a being made of controlled plasma. The humans from New Busan were supposed to deliver grain shipments to the Centauri trade hub yesterday. The ships never arrived. Perhaps they are having mechanical problems? Her assistant suggested. Check the other human agricultural worlds, Nixandra ordered. The results were disturbing. Ships from New Daegu had missed their delivery deadlines. Vessels from New Ulsan had failed to arrive at 3 different spaceports. Transport craft from New Incheon had simply vanished from shipping schedules. Nixandra tried to contact the human worlds directly. The communication systems answered normally. But something was wrong. The voices that responded to her calls sounded odd. They gave correct information about crop yields and production schedules, but they spoke with strange, mechanical precision. I want to send inspection teams to the human worlds, she told her superiors. Something is not right. Permission was granted within hours. The Federation was concerned about their trade agreements with humanity. If human worlds were having problems, it could affect profits across multiple sectors. The first inspection ship arrived at New Busan 2 days later. The Federation team was led by a crystalline being similar to Veltharion, but smaller and less important. His name was Kethmanor, and he had inspected hundreds of worlds during his career. Everything appears normal from orbit, he reported as his ship approached the planet. Farming operations are running at full capacity. Ships are loading and departing on schedule. I see no signs of distress. His ship landed at the main spaceport. Kethmanor and his team disembarked, expecting to meet human officials. Instead, they found robots. Welcome to New Busan, said a mechanical voice from a humanoid robot. How may we assist you today? I need to speak with the planetary administrator, Kethmanor demanded. Administrator Kim Tae-hyun is currently unavailable, the robot replied. I can help you with any questions about agricultural production or shipping schedules. Where is Administrator Kim Tae-hyun? He is in a meeting that cannot be interrupted. Kethmanor's crystalline body began to glow with irritation. I am a Federation trade inspector. I have the authority to speak with any planetary official immediately. I understand, the robot said politely. Administrator Kim Tae-hyun will contact you as soon as his meeting is finished. The inspection team toured the planet for 3 days. They visited farms, factories, and spaceports. Everything was working perfectly. Crops were being harvested on schedule. Food was being processed and shipped. The planet's economy was running smoothly, but they never saw a single human being. This is impossible, Kethmanor told his team. Where are the 5 million colonists who live on this world? They found human homes with meals still warm on tables. They discovered offices with coffee still hot in cups. They located recreational facilities with games half finished on tables. but there were no people anywhere. "It is as if they all vanished at the same moment," reported one of the inspectors. Kethmanor sent urgent messages to his superiors. Similar reports began arriving from other Federation inspection teams. New Daegu was empty of humans but fully operational. New Ulsan had no human workers but continued building ships. New Incheon's mines were active but had no human miners. The reports reached Veltharion within hours. The Prime Speaker called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. "This is unprecedented," he announced to the assembled delegates. 17 human worlds appear to be completely abandoned, yet they continue operating normally. Their economies show no disruption. Their production levels remain constant. It is as if millions of humans simply cease. 3 weeks after the human disappearance, the galactic economy began to shake like a building in an earthquake. At first, the problems seemed small and unconnected. A food shortage here, a missing shipment there. But Dr. Kim Soyi had spent years studying how different alien species depended on each other, and she had found weaknesses that no one else had noticed. Nixandra stared at the reports on her floating desk, her energy form flickering with worry. The numbers made no sense. Food prices had doubled in just 2 weeks. Rare metals that used to be common were now impossible to find. Most disturbing of all, the communication networks that connected distant parts of the galaxy were failing. "How can this be happening so quickly?" she asked her assistant. "The humans only stopped trading 3 weeks ago." Her assistant, a plasma being named Zorthak, glowed nervously. "The analysis teams say the humans were more important to our economy than anyone realized. They were not just selling us food and minerals. They were providing services that held everything together." Nixandra pulled up a trade map showing cargo routes across the galaxy. 3 weeks ago, the map had been full of green lines showing healthy trade flows. Now, many of those lines were red or had disappeared completely. "Explain this to me," she ordered. Zorthak highlighted different sections of the map as he spoke. Human cargo ships did not just carry human goods. They also transported products between alien species that cannot deal with each other directly. For example, the Crystalline Assembly and the Thermal Collective have completely different environmental needs. Their ships cannot dock at the same stations. So, human ships could dock at both types of stations. They carried goods between species that never met face to face. Without human intermediaries, these species cannot trade with each other at all. Nixandra felt a cold feeling spread through her energy form. How many trade relationships depended on human intermediaries? According to our analysis, approximately 60% of all interspecies commerce. The number hit Nixandra like a physical blow. She had never realized that humans were the glue holding galactic trade together. While the aliens had been treating them like primitive children, humans had quietly made themselves essential to the economy. On the crystalline homeworld of Veltar Prime, similar discoveries were causing panic. Veltharion stood in his crystal palace, listening to reports from his economic advisors. The news got worse with each update. "The filtration systems are failing," reported his chief technician, a being whose crystal body pulsed with stress patterns. "Our environmental suits can only function in alien atmospheres because of the filters that humans manufactured for us." Veltharion's body flared brighter. "What do you mean manufactured? We have our own technology." "Yes, Prime Speaker, but human factories processed the raw materials we needed. We could create the filter designs, but we could not produce the special crystals required. Human mining operations on 17 worlds extracted rare elements that we cannot find anywhere else." "There must be other sources," Veltharion insisted. "There are, but they are controlled by species that hate us. The Thermal Collective has the materials we need, but they have been at war with us for 300 years. The Insectoid Collective could provide the crystals, but their extraction methods damage the molecular structure in ways that make them useless to us." Veltharion realized with growing horror that his people might be trapped on their homeworld. Without the human-manufactured filters, crystalline beings could not survive in the atmospheres of other planets. Their vast star empire might shrink to a single world within months. The military situation was even worse. Morvac stood in the command center of his flagship, watching his fleet officers struggle with equipment failures. Ships that had operated perfectly for years were now breaking down. "Sir, The fuel purification systems are offline on 12 ships, reported his aide, a reptilian warrior named Scarleth. We cannot refine raw fuel into the compounds our engines require. Use backup systems, Morvac ordered. The backup systems also depend on human-processed catalyst compounds. Without those compounds, our purification systems cannot function. Morvac's scales darkened as he understood the implications. How long will our current fuel supplies last? At normal consumption, approximately 6 weeks. If we reduce operations to minimal levels, perhaps 3 months. And our weapons systems? Scarleth hesitated before answering. The targeting computers use processing cores that were manufactured on human worlds. We have spare cores for essential systems, but not enough to maintain full combat readiness across the entire fleet. Morvac felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. His mighty fleet, which had conquered dozens of systems, was slowly dying. The weapons that had made his people rulers of their sector were failing because of missing human components. But the worst problems were on the factory worlds of the mechanical syndicate. These robot beings had created the most advanced manufacturing systems in the galaxy. Their factories could build anything from starships to medical equipment, but now those factories were silent. The syndicate's prime calculator, a massive artificial intelligence called Unit 7749, processed the crisis data with growing alarm. Its mechanical mind had difficulty understanding how the situation had developed so quickly. Analysis complete, Unit 7749 announced to its subordinate machines. Human-supplied materials were integrated into 89.7% of our manufacturing processes. Without these materials, factory output has decreased by 76.4% and continues to decline. Specify the nature of human materials, requested Unit 2331, the secondary processor. Humans provided rare earth elements that our sensors classified as common industrial supplies. However, detailed analysis reveals that these elements were processed using techniques we do not possess. The human processing methods created molecular structures that are essential for our manufacturing operations. Unit 2331's optical sensors flickered in what passed for confusion among the mechanical beings. Why did we not develop these processing techniques ourselves? The processing methods appeared to be simple chemical refinement. Our analysis indicated that the techniques were primitive and inefficient. We did not realize that the apparently simple processes created unique molecular arrangements that our advanced methods could not duplicate. In simple terms, the robots had been too proud to study human techniques that seemed crude and basic. Now they discovered that those primitive methods produced materials that their sophisticated technology could not replicate. The food crisis was the most visible problem. Across hundreds of worlds, alien populations faced shortages that grew worse each day. The reasons were complex, but devastating. Human agricultural worlds had not just grown food for humans. They had produced specialty crops that other species needed but could not grow themselves. The environmental conditions required for these crops were so specific that only human terraforming technology could create them. More importantly, human cargo ships had carried food between different alien species. The Aquatic Federation lived on water worlds and produced protein-rich algae. The Desert Collective lived on dry planets and grew hardy grains. The Forest Alliance lived on jungle worlds and cultivated various fruits. Each species produced food that others needed, but they could not transport it themselves. Aquatic beings could not survive on desert worlds long enough to collect grain. Desert dwellers could not breathe underwater to gather algae. Forest creatures could not function in the sterile environments of mechanical worlds. Human ships had been equipped to carry any type of cargo in appropriate environmental conditions. They had refrigeration systems for aquatic food, heating systems for desert products, and atmospheric control for forest goods. Without human transport, food distribution networks collapsed. Within a month, billions of beings faced starvation. The communication crisis was equally serious but less obvious. The galaxy's communication network depended on relay stations positioned in empty space between star systems. These stations received messages from one system and transmitted them to the next, allowing instant communication across vast distances. Most aliens assumed these relay stations were built and maintained by the Galactic Council. In reality, many of the most important stations had been constructed and operated by human crews. Humans had volunteered for the dangerous job of working in empty space, far from any planets or rescue ships. When the humans vanished, the relay stations continued operating automatically for a few weeks. But without maintenance crews, they began to fail. First, communication became slow and unreliable. Then entire sectors went silent as critical relay stations stopped functioning. Species that had been in constant contact for centuries suddenly could not reach each other. Trade negotiations stopped in the middle of discussions. Scientific research projects that involved multiple species fell apart when the scientists could not communicate. Military alliances began to dissolve as commanders could not coordinate with their allies. Dr. Kim Soyi had planned these failures carefully. From her hidden location in dimensional space, she monitored the collapse of galactic civilization with scientific precision. Every breakdown had been predicted and calculated. Humanity had not attacked anyone or destroyed anything. They had simply stopped doing the jobs that no one else wanted to do. The aliens, H. Admiral Park Ji-ho stood in the observation deck of his hidden flagship, watching alien scout ships search the empty space where human colonies used to be. The alien vessels moved in careful patterns, their sensors sweeping every asteroid and dust cloud. They were looking for hiding humans, expecting to find frightened refugees in makeshift shelters. They found nothing, because they were looking in the wrong dimension. Sir, we have 17 alien fleets conducting search operations in former human territory, reported his intelligence officer, Lieutenant Commander Shin Ji-woo. They are using deep space scanners, gravitational detectors, and quantum sensors. None of their equipment can detect our dimensional shields. Park Ji-ho nodded. He had expected this response. The aliens thought like conquerors, assuming that humans would behave like every other species they had defeated. Hide, fight, or surrender. Those were the only options in the alien way of thinking. What is the composition of the search fleets? He asked. Mostly hegemony military vessels under Morvac's command, Shin Ji-woo replied. But we also detect crystalline assembly ships, Federation trade vessels, and some syndicate robot craft. It appears to be a joint operation. Interesting. They are cooperating despite their usual rivalries. Fear makes strange allies. Park Ji-ho had spent 30 years studying alien military tactics. He knew how they thought, how they planned, how they reacted to unexpected situations. The search fleets were proof that the aliens still did not understand what they were dealing with. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Across 17 star systems, something impossible happened. Human ships appeared from nowhere, materializing in perfect formation around alien vessels. The humans had not been detected approaching. They had not emerged from hyperspace. They had simply become visible, as if they had been there all along. Captain Choi Do-hyun commanded the operation from his stealth frigate, watching as his fleet surrounded a hegemony battle group. The alien ships immediately raised shields and powered weapons, but their targeting systems could not lock on to the human vessels. This is Captain Choi Do-hyun of the Earth Defense Force, he transmitted on all frequencies. You are operating in human space without authorization. Please adjust your course and leave this system immediately. The response came from the hegemony flagship, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. This is Admiral Skorthak of the Galactic Hegemony. You will surrender immediately or be destroyed. Choi Do-hyun almost laughed. The aliens still thought they were in control. Admiral, I respectfully suggest you reconsider. Your weapons cannot target our ships, your shields cannot protect you from our weapons, and your engines cannot outrun our pursuit craft. This is not a battle you can win. Impossible! Skorthak snarled. No primitive technology can surpass hegemony military systems. Please observe, Choi Do-hyun said politely. One of the human ships moved toward the alien flagship. It did not accelerate gradually like normal spacecraft. Instead, it simply appeared at a different location, as if it had teleported. The ship positioned itself directly above the dreadnought, close enough that the two vessels could have touched. The hegemony crew panicked. Weapon systems fired automatically, but the energy beams passed through the human ship as if it were made of light. The ship was there, but also not there, existing in a state that alien science could not explain. Your weapons use conventional energy patterns, Choi Do-hyun explained. Our ships operate using dimensional phase technology. We exist in multiple realities simultaneously. You cannot harm something that is only partially present in your dimension. The human ship moved again, this time appearing inside the alien shield bubble. Shields were designed to keep objects out, but the human vessel had materialized within the protected space. The alien crew watched in terror as their most advanced defenses proved useless. However, Choi Do-hyun continued, our weapons work quite well in your dimension. The human ship fired a single, precisely aimed shot. The energy beam was unlike anything in alien arsenals. Instead of trying to overwhelm the alien shields, it passed through them and struck the dreadnought's weapon systems directly. The alien guns went dead instantly, their power systems somehow neutralized. What did you do? Skorthok demanded. We convinced your weapons that they did not want to function, Choi Do-hyun replied. Our technology can alter the basic properties of matter. We can make metal forget how to conduct electricity. We can make computers forget their programming. We can make engines forget how to produce thrust. To demonstrate, another human ship targeted the alien dreadnought's engines. A strange blue beam struck the massive propulsion system. The engines did not explode or shut down. They simply stopped working, as if the laws of physics had changed around them. The hegemony fleet found itself helpless. Their weapons were dead, their engines were inactive, and their shields were useless. The human ships surrounded them like ghosts, untouchable, but clearly in control. You have two choices, Choi Do-hyun announced. You can leave this system immediately using the emergency thrusters we will graciously reactivate for you. Or you can remain here and discover what other interesting effects our technology can produce. Similar scenes played out across human space. Crystalline assembly ships discovered that their crystal hulls could be made to vibrate at frequencies that caused intense pain to crystalline crews. Federation energy beings found that their plasma forms could be destabilized and scattered. Syndicate robots learned that their artificial intelligence could be temporarily erased, leaving them as mindless metal shells. But the humans did not destroy anyone. They simply demonstrated their complete superiority and politely asked the intruders to leave. Dr. Kim Soyi monitored the encounters from her research facility in dimensional space. She was fascinated by the alien reactions to human technology. The aliens had always assumed that technological advancement meant bigger weapons, stronger shields, and faster ships. They could not understand technology that operated on completely different principles. They are trying to analyze our dimensional phases, she reported to Admiral Park Ji-ho. The crystalline assembly has deployed their most advanced sensor arrays. The Federation is attempting to disrupt our phase states with energy bursts. The Syndicate is running computational models to predict our technology. Will they succeed? The Admiral asked. Not with their current understanding of physics, Dr. Kim Soyi replied. They think in terms of three-dimensional space and linear time. Our technology uses 11-dimensional mathematics and quantum temporal mechanics. It would take them centuries to develop the theoretical foundation needed to understand what we are doing. How did we advance so quickly while they remained stagnant? Dr. Kim Soyi smiled. They became comfortable with their superiority. They stopped innovating because they believed they had already achieved perfection. Humans never had that luxury. We were always the weakest species, so we had to become the smartest. The alien military commanders were having nervous breakdowns trying to understand their situation. Morvac paced his command deck, his scales shifting through every color in the spectrum as his stress levels peaked. How is this possible? He demanded of his science officers. 3 months ago, human ships were barely faster than ours. Their weapons were adequate but not exceptional. Their shields were standard design. Now they display technology that defies known science. His chief scientist, a reptilian named Velcor, studied the sensor readings with growing confusion. Sir, the energy signatures make no sense. The human ships appear to be drawing power from sources that do not exist. Their weapons fire beams that our instruments cannot classify. Their movement patterns suggest they are not bound by momentum or gravity. Speak plainly, Morvac snapped. Sir, either the humans have made technological advances that should take thousands of years to develop, or they have been hiding their true capabilities from the beginning. Morvac felt a chill run down his spine. Are you suggesting that humans have been pretending to be primitive? I am suggesting that we may have seriously underestimated their abilities. Similar conversations were happening on ships throughout the galactic fleets. Alien scientists struggled to explain human technology that seemed to violate fundamental laws of physics. Military commanders tried to develop tactics against enemies who could not be targeted or damaged. Intelligence officers attempted to gather information about adversaries who appeared and disappeared at will. The truth was even more disturbing than they imagined. Humanity had not suddenly developed impossible technology. They had been working on these advances for decades, conducting research in hidden facilities that the aliens never discovered. Engineer Han Nari had overseen much of the technological development. From her laboratory in dimensional space, she watched alien fleets retreat from human territory with satisfaction. "They are finally beginning to understand," she told Captain Choi Do-yoon during their post-operation briefing. "For 3 years, they treated us like children playing with toys. Now they realize that the children have been building weapons while the adults were not paying attention. How advanced are we compared to them?" Choi Do-hyun asked. "In conventional technology, we are approximately equal," Hanari explained. "Their ships are as fast as ours, their weapons are as powerful, their shields are as strong. But we developed—" The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such panic. Emergency sessions had been called every day for 2 weeks, but no one had solutions. Food riots were breaking out on dozens of worlds. Communication networks were failing faster than they could be repaired. Manufacturing had ground to a halt. The galactic economy was not just failing, it was dying. Veltharion stood before the assembled delegates, his crystal body dim with exhaustion. He had not recharged properly in days, too, busy dealing with crisis reports to rest. Around him, representatives from hundreds of species showed similar signs of stress. The proud galactic civilization was crumbling, and everyone knew it. "The situation has become critical," Veltharion announced. "Without immediate action, our civilization faces complete collapse within months." Morvac rose from his seat, his scales darker than anyone had ever seen them. "My fleets have been driven from human space. Our ships cannot fight enemies we cannot target. Our weapons cannot harm vessels that exist in multiple dimensions. Humanity possesses technology that makes our military power meaningless. The economic damage is beyond calculation," added Nixandra, her energy form flickering weakly. "Trade networks that took centuries to build have collapsed in weeks. Species that have not spoken to each other in generations are now forced to deal directly, but they lack the systems and protocols needed for cooperation." Unit 7749, representing the Mechanical Syndicate, processed data streams while speaking. "Manufacturing output has decreased by 78.3% across all sectors. Critical supply shortages will result in system-wide failures within 47.2 days. Probability of civilization survival without external intervention, 12.6%. The cold mathematical assessment hit the chamber like a bomb. Even the robots, with their emotionless logic, calculated that galactic civilization was doomed. Veltharion felt the weight of leadership crushing him. He had ruled the Galactic Council for 200 years, maintaining peace and prosperity across thousands of worlds. Now everything was falling apart because he had underestimated one species. "We must contact the humans," he admitted, the words causing physical pain. "We need to negotiate a solution." "They said they would not negotiate," reminded a delegate from the Aquatic Federation. "Their ambassador made it clear that diplomatic relations were permanently severed." "Circumstances have changed," Veltharion replied. "They could not have anticipated how quickly our systems would collapse. Surely they do not want to see billions of beings die from starvation and system failures." What Veltharion did not know was that Dr. Kim Soyi had anticipated exactly this collapse. From her research facility in dimensional space, she had calculated the timeline of galactic civilization's failure with scientific precision. Every shortage, every system failure, every breakdown had been predicted and planned. "They are calling for emergency negotiations," she reported to the Human Leadership Council. "Veltharion is attempting to contact every human facility he can identify. He is offering significant concessions." Admiral Park Jiho studied the reports with interest. "What kind of concessions?" "Full voting rights in the Council, removal of all territorial restrictions, equal status with founding species, access to restricted technologies, Essentially, everything we requested during 3 years of unsuccessful negotiations. Engineer Han Nari laughed bitterly. Now they want to give us what we asked for peacefully, after they drove us to take extreme measures. The offer is not genuine, Dr. Kim Soyi continued. Our psychological analysis indicates they view this as a temporary concession to survive the current crisis. Once the immediate danger passes, they would gradually restore the old restrictions and limitations. Captain Choi Do-hyun joined the discussion via secure communication from his ship. What is our response? We respond as we planned, replied a new voice. Ambassador Lee Min-ho had been quiet during the evacuation and technological demonstrations, but now he would deliver humanity's final message to galactic civilization. Lee Min-ho activated a quantum communication array that connected him directly to the Galactic Council chamber. His image appeared as a hologram in the center of the assembly, causing immediate excitement among the desperate delegates. Ambassador Lee Min-ho, Veltharion exclaimed. Thank you for responding to our communications. We urgently need to discuss the current crisis. Lee Min-ho looked exactly as he had during his final appearance at the council 3 months earlier. His diplomatic uniform was perfect, his expression calm and professional. But something in his eyes had changed. The frustration and anger were gone, replaced by something much more disturbing. Complete indifference. Prime Speaker Veltharion, Lee Min-ho said politely. I am no longer an ambassador. Humanity has moved beyond the need for diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. But surely we can reach an agreement, Veltharion pleaded. We are prepared to offer significant concessions, full council membership, equal voting rights, removal of all restrictions on human expansion. Lee Min-ho tilted his head slightly, as if considering the offer. These are the same things humanity requested through diplomatic channels for 3 years. Every request was denied. Every proposal was rejected. Every suggestion was dismissed as the foolish ideas of a primitive species. We made errors in judgment, Veltharion admitted. We underestimated human capabilities and potential. We are prepared to correct these mistakes. I see, Lee Min-ho replied. And what has changed your opinion of human capabilities? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Veltharion knew the answer, but saying it would be admitting that the Council had been wrong about everything. Recent events have demonstrated that human technology is more advanced than we realized, he said carefully. Ah, Lee Min-ho nodded. So when you believed humans were weak, you felt comfortable treating us as inferiors. Now that you know we are strong, you wish to treat us as equals. This suggests that your concept of fairness is based on power rather than principle. Morvac leaned forward, his frustration overcoming diplomatic protocol. What do you want from us? Name your terms for restoring trade and cooperation. Lee Min-ho was quiet for a long moment, as if considering the question seriously. When he spoke, his words chilled every being in the chamber. You misunderstand the situation, he said softly. Humanity is not interested in restoring trade and cooperation with galactic civilization. We have moved beyond the need for such relationships. That is impossible, Nixandra protested. No species can survive in isolation. Everyone needs trade partners, allies, and cooperative agreements. Perhaps that was true for species that developed within the limitations of three-dimensional space and linear time, Lee Min-ho agreed. But humanity has transcended those limitations. We no longer require the resources, technologies, or cooperation of other species. Engineer Han Nari had prepared visual aids for this moment. Lee Min-ho gestured, and the holographic display expanded to show images that defied comprehension. The aliens saw vast cities that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They observed ships that traveled through folded space-time, crossing galactic distances in seconds. They watched humans working alongside beings of pure energy and crystalline creatures that made the Galactic Council species look primitive. These are our new territories, Lee Min-ho explained. Regions of space that exist beyond your ability to detect or access. We have discovered galaxies empty of intelligent life, ready for colonization. We have learned to create pocket universes tailored to our specific needs. We have made contact with entities from higher dimensions who view your galactic civilization as we once viewed primitive bacteria. The images showed human colonies on impossible worlds where the laws of physics worked differently. Planets where time moved at variable speeds. Worlds where matter could be reshaped by thought alone. Systems where the barriers between dimensions were thin enough to allow travel between parallel realities. This is what humanity achieved when freed from the restrictions and limitations imposed by the Galactic Council, Lee Min-ho continued. In 3 months of unrestricted development, we have advanced further than galactic civilization has in 3,000 years. Unit 7749's mechanical voice cut through the stunned silence. Query: what caused this rapid advancement? Human development. Rates should not allow such progress. Lee Min-ho smiled, and for the first time the expression held genuine warmth. You made the same mistake that every advanced species makes when dealing with those they consider inferior. You assumed that because we were weaker, we were also stupider. You thought that because our technology was less developed, our minds were less capable. I do not understand, Veltharion said. Humans do not think like other species, Lee Min-ho explained. We do not accept limitations as permanent. We do not believe that impossible means never achievable. We do not assume that current knowledge represents the ultimate truth. While you were perfecting existing technologies, we were discovering entirely new ways of understanding reality. Dr. Kim So-yi appeared beside Lee Min-ho's hologram, her scientific credentials lending weight to his words. The galactic species developed impressive technologies within the framework of conventional physics and traditional thinking. Humanity developed those same technologies, then moved beyond conventional frameworks entirely. We learned to manipulate matter at the quantum level. The Galactic Council chamber fell completely silent as every delegate waited for Lee Min-ho to continue. The human ambassador let the silence stretch for nearly a minute, allowing the weight of their desperate situation to fully settle on the alien representatives. Humanity offers the opportunity for individual evolution, Lee Min-ho finally announced. Not for your governments, not for your species as a whole, but for individuals who demonstrate the capacity to transcend their current limitations. Veltharion's crystal body flickered with confusion. What do you mean by individual evolution? Dr. Kim So-yi stepped forward in the holographic display. Galactic species have remained essentially unchanged for thousands of years. You perfect your existing technologies, but never fundamentally alter your way of thinking. You expand your territories, but never expand your consciousness. You accumulate knowledge, but never achieve wisdom. Humans discovered that evolution is not just biological, she continued. Consciousness itself can evolve. Intelligence can transcend its original patterns. Beings can learn to exist in multiple dimensions, think in quantum probabilities, and perceive reality from perspectives that their original species never imagined. Lee Min-ho gestured, and new images appeared in the holographic display. The aliens saw beings that had once been recognizably crystalline, but now existed as complex geometric patterns that shifted through 11 dimensions. They observed former, mechanical units that had transcended their programming to become entities of pure logic and creativity combined. These individuals chose to leave their species behind and join humanity in exploring higher forms of existence, Lee Min-ho explained. They discovered that the limitations they believed were permanent were actually self-imposed boundaries that could be overcome. You are asking us to abandon our nature, Morvac protested, his scales shifting through rapid color changes. To stop being what we are. We are asking you to become more than what you are, Lee Min-ho corrected. The choice is voluntary and irreversible. Those who join us cannot return to their previous existence. They become something new, something that transcends the limitations of their original species. Unit 7749 processed this information with mechanical precision. Query: what percentage of individuals from Council species have chosen this evolution? Approximately 0.3% of those offered the opportunity, Dr. Kim So-yi replied. Most beings prefer the familiar constraints of their current existence to the unlimited possibilities of transcendence. Why so few? Asked a delegate from the insectoid collective. Fear, Lee Min-ho answered simply. Fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of losing their identity. Most beings would rather remain limited but familiar than become unlimited but transformed. Engineer Hanari appeared in the holographic display beside the other humans. The process requires complete willingness to abandon everything you currently believe about reality, identity, and possibility. It means accepting that everything your species taught you about the nature of existence was incomplete at best, and often completely wrong. This is why we do not make the offer to governments or species as a whole, Lee Minho continued. Collective entities are inherently conservative. They resist change because change threatens their stability. Only individuals can make the choice to evolve beyond their origins. Veltharion felt a strange mixture of fascination and terror. What would happen to those who choose this evolution? Would they still be themselves? They would be more themselves than they ever were before, Dr. Kim Soyi explained. Imagine being freed from every limitation your biology placed on your thoughts. Imagine perceiving reality from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Imagine having access to knowledge and experiences that span multiple universes. But they would no longer be crystalline, Veltharion said quietly. They would be what crystalline beings could become if they were not limited by thinking like crystalline beings, Lee Minho replied. The essence of who they are would remain, but it would be expanded beyond anything their original form could contain. The implications were staggering. Individuals could transcend their species' limitations, but doing so meant leaving their species behind entirely. It was not conquest or assimilation. It was voluntary evolution to a higher form of existence. What about our civilizations? Nixandra asked. If our best and brightest individuals leave, what happens to those who remain? That is not humanity's concern, Lee Minho said with brutal honesty. We offered cooperation and partnership to your civilizations. Those offers were rejected. We now offer evolution to individuals. What happens to the collectives they leave behind is not our responsibility. Captain Choi Do-hyun joined the holographic conference from his ship in dimensional space. The choice each individual faces is simple. They can remain with their species and face whatever future awaits galactic civilization, or they can evolve beyond their current limitations and join humanity in exploring infinite possibilities. You make it sound like an easy decision, Morvac said bitterly. For some beings it is easy, Choi Do-hyun replied. They have always felt constrained by their species' limitations. They hunger for knowledge and experiences that their current form cannot provide. For them, evolution is liberation. And for others? For others, it is the most terrifying prospect imaginable. They would rather face extinction with their species than transformation beyond their species. Admiral Park Ji-ho appeared as the final member of the human delegation. The offer remains open indefinitely. Any individual from any council species can request evolution if they demonstrate genuine willingness to transcend their current limitations. How do we contact you to make such a request? Asked a young delegate from the Aquatic Federation. Simply speak the words, I choose evolution, while looking at any star, Dr. Kim Soyi replied. Our monitoring systems will detect the quantum resonance patterns of genuine intent. Those who truly mean it will be contacted. And those who do not truly mean it, Veltharion asked, will continue living their current lives without interference, Lee Minho answered. We have no interest in forcing evolution on unwilling subjects. Transcendence cannot be imposed from outside. It must come from within. The holographic display began to fade as the human delegation prepared to end the transmission. But Lee Minho had one final message for the Galactic Council. This is likely the last communication between humanity and the Council, he said. We are moving beyond the need for such interactions. In a few years, even individual evolution opportunities may no longer be available as we explore realities too advanced for current Council species to comprehend. What will happen to galactic civilization? Veltharion asked desperately. Lee Minho considered the question seriously. You will adapt or you will fail. You will learn to cooperate without human intermediaries, or you will fragment into isolated groups. You will develop new technologies to replace human innovations, or you will regress to more primitive levels. The choice, as always, is yours. But you built this civilization as much as we did, Nixandra protested. You were part of creating the systems that are now failing. Yes, Lee Minho agreed. And when we asked for equal participation in governing, Those systems, we were denied. When we requested fair treatment within the civilization we helped build, we were refused. You wanted our labor without our leadership, our contributions without our voice, our service without our respect. Now, you have what you asked for. A galactic civilization without human participation. Whether it survives or collapses depends entirely on your ability to manage what you insisted on controlling alone. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. The aliens faced a choice that no species in galactic history had ever confronted. They could accept the slow collapse of their civilization while maintaining their traditional identities, or individuals among them could abandon everything they had ever been to become something unimaginably greater. Over the following months, the galaxy watched as both options played out. Most aliens chose to remain with their failing civilizations, working desperately to repair the systems that humanity had once maintained. Their efforts were partially successful, enough to prevent total collapse, but not enough to restore previous prosperity. The galaxy became a smaller, more isolated place. Species that had once traded freely across vast distances now struggled to maintain contact with their nearest neighbors. Technologies that had once seemed routine became luxury items available only to the wealthy. Worlds that had once been garden paradises became basic survival settlements, but scattered across hundreds of worlds, individual beings made a different choice. A young crystalline scientist named Keth Allen looked at the stars one night and whispered, "I choose evolution." A mechanical unit designated 2847 Prime concluded that its programming was a limitation to be overcome and spoke the words that would change everything. An energy being from the Federation decided that existence as pure energy was still too constraining and requested transformation. These individuals vanished from their homeworlds without warning or fanfare. Their families mourned them as dead, their governments recorded them as missing, their species forgot them as aberrations. But they had not died. They had been reborn. In the dimensional spaces where humanity now lived, the evolved beings discovered reality.